So, welcome to this week's episode. I figured we'd be outside so that you can see kind of how everything's dying back. So actually, what's this called? Is it borage? I forget. I don't think I labeled it. So I bought it a little bit later in the season, and it's blooming just now, which is really nice, while everything else is dying back. So I think actually everything on the plant is edible. So maybe I'll go through and pick some of these nice flowers to eat. And it looks like it's got plenty coming along. And I think this guy right here is a ladybug. What is it called? Maybe nymph or something? So yes, I've had aphids all season long because I had good nitrogen-rich soil. So it's good that the ladybugs are still around. So I don't know if you can see that nice big fat cucumber. I just kind of let the plants go. We'll see how far it ripens, and maybe I'll harvest seed and plant it next year for fun. Because I harvested one of these melons worth, one of the ones that I actually ate. I saved the seeds inside because I noticed that some of them were sprouting in the compost pile. So I saved the seeds inside. It was from a hammy melon. So I saved it as hammy hybrid because I don't know what the bees pollinated it with the other 5 melons I was growing here for next year. I saved pole beans and I saved some of the bush beans. And these melons are here. I just chucked them here to rot down to add to the soil for next year, and assuming the seeds survive the winter, hopefully they'll sprout next year and I can have a no-work garden. So all those little orange melons died back. All of these, what were they, honeymoon melons died back. I think I ate one of them, but most of them rotted. I mean, I guess I'm okay with that. So I had one of each and it was okay, and now I know that the bacterial wilt is really bad, so maybe I'll look into it for next year. But the hammy melons managed to ripen fast enough that I got some of them, so maybe I'll just plant hammy melons and casabas next year and not bother with everything else, because this was a first-year garden after all. So most of these tomatoes here are eaten, but you know, some of them are still good. Let's see if this one's split overnight, because it was, nope, perfectly ripe, because it was raining overnight. Oh, that's tasty. These ones have grown through the netting. I've sort of given up, because this is probably all gonna die back in the next week or two whenever it finally frosts. Yeah, mosquitoes. Nasturtiums, I'll definitely go through and pick the leaves before the frost. This is some of that basil that I had planted. So I picked a bunch of stuff before that supposed frost, like a week ago, in case it all froze over. These are leeks. They've barely done anything this year. So the next time that it threatens to actually really frost, I'm going to go through and harvest everything that I really can. These little patty pan squashes, still growing, but not really producing much. Like I said, most of these tomatoes have split or they got eaten by caterpillars, so I'm just leaving them because they'll just fall to the ground and be volunteers for next year. Quite honestly, I'm sick of tomatoes at this point. Who is the survivor? The survivor is maybe some of the pumpkins. I don't know if that's a patty pan squash or if it's a winter luxury pie, but definitely the butternut squash has made a comeback. I have one that grew in here. I picked one from the middle there last week, and it looks like I have another one forming here. Chucked some more melons here. Picked most of the beans off of these bush beans here. I'm going through and just, when they dry up, I'm picking them to save to plant for next year. This tomato is so overgrown that I can barely open the door anymore. What else? These zucchinis still sort of going. I'm surprised. They kind of gave up for a little while, but they're growing again, which is nice. I think this might be a pumpkin. Maybe I should reroute this guy a little bit. Come on. Oh, look, he's got a pumpkin forming. So I doubt it'll make it before it frosts, but we'll just leave it. We'll leave it to be a happy little plant. The basil doesn't like the low temperatures, but we kind of already knew that. Yeah, everything's just kind of going to pot because of me and the weather. The poblanos are setting some more peppers. I'm excited. Hopefully something a little bit edible grows in, like, where is it? This one? Teeny tiny. Hopefully it has the chance to grow a little bit in the next week or two before everything freezes, because I'll definitely harvest that. Some of these basils that I planted later in the season didn't really get going, but some of them did. This one's gonna bloom. If it manages to set seed, I'll be excited. I'll have something interesting in my garden next year. Some of these pumpkins still kind of growing. Here's the seeds that I planted about, I want to say 3 weeks ago now. They haven't really taken off, but I mean, we'll see what I can get before it frosts. It's like turnips and stuff. Pumpkin that was sort of rotting, I went through and harvested the tops of most of the lemongrass a couple weeks ago. It looks like it's sort of growing back. I'm trying to wonder to myself if I feel like digging some of it up and bringing it in to have it growing over the winter time, but what I'm drying and what I stuck in my freezer is honestly more lemongrass than I've ever used in my life, so it might not be necessary. But I guess it was a good experiment. Went through and harvested some of this stuff. I forget what it is. I'm sure I have a stake somewhere. It's kind of a bitter green, so it was good with a balsamic vinegar dressing that I mixed up myself because it needed something a little bit stronger. The sorrel is doing amazing. I think I'm gonna break this off and eat it. Look at that nice sorrel. Don't know what tried to nibble on it, but I can tell that it got discouraged. Tangy. So, I have some onions here. I think they were supposed to be Spanish sweet onions. Kind of got nibbled on. Not very big. I think I'm gonna leave them in the ground for next year. Oh, do you see my nice big spider? Where is he? Right there. You see him? So he's been guarding things here. He started out in the melons right here until they died back, and then he moved. Or maybe she. Some of the lettuces, I thought I pulled them all up, but some of them managed to sneak by and go to bloom. Pulled up a bunch of my carrots. I think I got like five purple ones, 3 white ones, maybe 2 or 3 orange ones. The rest of these, I don't think they're big enough to pull up, so maybe they'll just overwinter and I'll pull them in the spring, or have them just bloom next year and spread some seed around to once again have a work garden. This dill is kind of putting seed everywhere, which is nice. Some of it's sprouting up already. Hopefully some of it kind of quote-unquote hibernates over the winter time and then resprouts in the spring. Asparagus are putting up some more spears now. I'm confused, but I've never grown asparagus before either, so maybe that's what they do. What else? I think there's still some beets hiding in here every once in a while, but they're too small to really bother with. These watermelons, one of them, the biggest watermelon I had, was rotten from the bottom, so I don't think I'm getting any this year. So I guess it was nice to plant them, but I didn't really get any food out of it, so I guess it's just for show and not for go. Yeah, this squash doesn't really have anything edible on it anymore. You know, I like this trellis so much that I might buy some more of them. It was $50, but it's like the perfect shape and size, so I think they know that they're charging for something that people definitely want to pay for it. Ooh, mosquitoes. So bad. So, parsnips, probably not gonna get anything edible this year. Maybe I'll overwinter the pot out here and see what comes up in the spring. Potatoes that were in these fabric pots have kind of died back. Hopefully there's something still in the pot. I'm gonna overwinter them out here, see if anything sprouts in the spring. I should have berry bushes coming. Hopefully they actually come. I have fabric pots for them, and I have bags of dirt for them too. There's a pumpkin hiding in there somewhere. Some more of them want to bloom, but you know, they probably won't make it. Carnivorous plants over there. You can tell that I ripped off a bunch of squash leaves over there, the zucchinis, because they were shading out the Venus flytraps. So, because this zucchini definitely has enough leaves, it doesn't need all of them. So, kind of uncovered it for the Venus flytraps here to be able to get some sunshine. This leucophylla, I think it's good and dead. I think I got like a week or two of growth out of it in the springtime, and then it, come on, and then it just, fine, I'm ripping you off, and then it just completely died back, and I think the whole entire pot is dead. The other Sarracenia are doing okay. They'll probably die back soon. I brought in those other tropical trees. The mint is dying back. The horseradish is still growing in there, which is exciting. Overgrown tomatoes. Some more nasturtiums. I really hope the bees are getting in there and pollinating those. I want seeds all over the garden. This fennel, gangbusters, man. I'm gonna just keep letting it go. I don't know if they're frost tolerant or not, but if it manages to make seed, maybe I'll have fennel without having to plant any next year. Some of the ones that I chopped off are regrowing bulbs, so that's another thing that I'm going to pick before the frost. Some sweet peppers in there are forming. I think I had some of the small purple bok choys. Make it through the bug onslaught, but I don't know if it's even worth picking to eat. I've got a bunch of asparagus planted in here too. Hopefully it comes up in the spring. I finally got in some tomatillos. So you can see a lot of the wrappers in here. I just dumped it in here instead of walking it all the way back up to the compost pile. Man, the mosquitoes all over my hands. Gonna have to douse my hands down with Benadryl, soak them. So lots of tomatoes. I'm not gonna come back out here to pick. The mosquitoes are terrible. And then the little net cage is for the wild strawberries that I planted a little late, just to give them a heads up on the bugs because they're already behind for the season. And I think that's about it. Just wanted to pop out here real quick. Oh, and this dandelion that's been growing that never bloomed, I picked and ate some of the leaves and they were tasty. So I guess this is kind of my lettuce corner. Okay, I'm going in because I'm getting eaten alive. So, I think it was a successful year. Definitely going to do it again next year. Okay, bye.